All right, episode 2 of just cast interference with yours truly, Chris Marler and Connor O'Gara. Connor, how are you, man?
Doing good. It's been a pretty quiet week on the plains. I think a lot of people are just business as usual. That's what the Auburn Football Twitter account told me. So I'm just going to assume that there's nothing going on and we can pretend like we're just getting ready to talk about spring football storylines.
I don't know if this isn't business as usual for Auburn. I feel like this is such a weird thing. When you think about it, and I'm not even trying to even make fun of Auburn yet. We will get there for sure. It's just crazy to me that this is something that has become like such a huge ordeal that was like massive national news. They've dwindled it down to like, oh, it's not a big deal. Everything's fine. And you're just kind of waiting to see what happens next. Your thoughts on the Harsin situation in general? I'm a guy that we've said this before. I'm an Alabama fan. I was raised that way. One of my many flaws, I always say, I like Harsin. I think he's a good coach. I think the most accurate thing I've heard from him all week or about him all week came from a Twitter space, ironically enough, where somebody brought up the point. They were like, I think he just wants to coach ball. I think he just wants to go down there and coach ball, and he's not into all this extracurricular stuff. Including the affair. I don't think that's real at all. What are your thoughts on just Harsin in general? Not the affair, just Harsin in general.
We could punt on deciding whether or not the guy is in the midst of a Bobby Petrino like scandal, like
unreal.
Yeah. When that all came out Thursday, my BS meter was just going like,
right.
I'm not even the biggest Harsin guy, and I'm not particularly crazy about some of the decisions that he's made since he's had the job, and that's what kind of worries me a little bit. I still think that he believes he can coach like it's 1995, and it just isn't.
Yeah.
Having said that, yes, this is all it's a coup. I mean, like this is trying to get him out of this job. And this is people above him, above Alan Green, the athletic director, who maybe he's going to be on his way out within the year because he's got one more year left on his contract. Like all these different things that we have seen play out where you just kind of wonder, what's Auburn going for here? Right. What's the plan? What if you're going to do something like this and pay $40 million worth of buyouts to 2 head coaches in a 14-month stretch? And I'm not sure that any program ever cumulatively has paid $40 million to head coaches for them not to work. And if Auburn's willing to do that in a 14-month stretch, what's the plan? I don't know. And I don't trust the people in place to have that vision. And if I'm an Auburn fan, that's the most troubling thing about all of this. Is, as I always say, like, don't present a problem without providing a solution. What's the solution? I don't know.
It reminds me of that quote from Batman with the Joker, and he's like, "I'm a dog. I'm a dog chasing cars. I don't know what I would do if I ever caught one." Like, he's like, this is like there's not a plan, in my opinion. I think that you have so much division now between the fan base and like it seems like with Auburn. You brought this up earlier. You said, is it somebody above the AD? And my first thought was, who's above the AD? Like, because there's obviously multiple people, like the president, obviously, but the board of trustees, every single one of these boosters who has now gotten themselves involved feel like they're above everyone, right? And this is
they kind of are, right?
They've been made to be. Well, like it does, and they've been allowed to be, and they've been made to be by this university. And I mean, this has been happening for decades, and it cracks me up in terms of, like, you hear stories, these like fantastic stories about like other, especially back in like it reminds me of the 80s, like in the Wild Wild West SMU days. And like you hear these stories about the boosters buying players, whatever. You hear stories about boosters around the SEC, and most of it sounds like it's too good to be true. Like it's just too crazy, too far out there. The stuff at Auburn this is a group of people that have run this university's athletic department for years and years and really decades. And the people above the president, the AD, like now that you have we'll just name names, I guess, Jimmy Rain. I know, like, you hear his name being thrown out there all the time. You hear Milton McGregor and Bobby Louder are now gone for obviously different reasons. But I mean, like the fact that Jimmy Rain and some of these other power brokers, I guess you could say, are still being allowed to have such major influence is what kills me, because it doesn't seem like it's for the best interest for the university or the fan base. It's really just what they want. And I just would have to default to think that, like, hey, you know what? If I have a lot of money, maybe the coach still knows more than me. I don't know. Call me crazy.
Yes. In theory, yes. 100%.
Right.
Who's going to tell them no?
Nope.
The coach who they just hired, who they
Right.
just gave all this money to, the athletic director who they have the influence to be able to say adios if they don't like the way the things are going, if they're not willing to play ball. Who's going to stand up to them and actually have the credentials, the mindset, and the early results? Because that's a big part of this as well. It's one thing to walk into a room and say something. It's another to actually have to go out onto the field, onto the court, and be able to say, this is why you need to trust me. Right. And that's the divide. And that's where I see this whole thing kind of breaking down, and why Auburn has been allowed to exist in this weird world for so long. And part of it too, and this is the point that I keep bringing up, it's like, before Harsin, you had 3 coaches in the 21st century, right?
Yep.
Tuberville, you got our guy Chizik, and you had Gus. All of them had Auburn on the brink of a national championship.
All of them.
All of them. So it's not LSU. It's not LSU. And you could say 3 coaches that have won national championships in the 21st century. But I do think that is part of why they have been allowed to get at this, to stay at this point in the 21st century, despite the fact that, in my opinion, the game has changed a lot in the playoff era. Talent acquisition is now more important than ever. The spending is now skewed towards the top, like all those different things, and why you can't quite catch lightning in a bottle in the same way that you might have at different times during the 21st century, like Auburn did.
I think that's a good point. And I think it's something that's so fascinating about this Auburn head coaching job, because even as a Bama fan, you look at it and you're like, man, like you kind of understand why it's either win now or get out mentality. And they've had, you said this, you said they've all had them on a brink of a national title, right? Gus did it in year 1. Chizik did it in year 2. Now Tuberville's a little bit like, it was a little bit further, a little bit later on in his
post Jetgate.
Post Jetgate, right? 2004. But also you just keep going back. And I looked into this the other day, Tuberville wins an SEC West title in year 2. And goes to the SEC championship. Terry Bowden, the coach before him, his first year, he goes 11-0. He's the only coach at that point to ever go 11-0 in a D1, premier, or I guess not a premier, in a D1 debut as a head coach. Pat Dye before him, he won the SEC in year 3. They're very used to having this very early success. In the same breath, you look at it like Tuberville had this, Chizik did not, neither did Malzahn, but 8 of the 11 head coaches that have been at Auburn since they joined the SEC in 1933, 8 of the 11 have started with a losing record. But you see how quickly they're able to turn that around. It kind of speaks to like why you wonder why they wouldn't give Harsin a second year, but also it completely validates. Well, I use that word loosely. It validates why the boosters are so hungry for success so early, because they've seen it over and over and over again. It's an incredible coaching history. I still want to do a deep dive on it. It just like the fact that Pat Dye and Shug Jordan were both athletic directors as well as coaches, just casually. And Shug Jordan named the field after himself while he was still the head coach. It's just a power move I've never seen before. Yeah. It's such a flex. So no, it'll be interesting to see how all this plays out. Before we wrap up, we got a few quick topics I want to talk about, because this is, and I'm assuming we'll be talking about this again.
We're going to be talking replacements. We're probably going to be talking about Kevin Steele in a very short matter of time.
Yeah. That is a name that I just want to
die off. The Kevin Steele file.
Yeah, that's perfect. So the other 2 topics: the Super Bowl coming up, and we have Valentine's Day coming up the day after. Now, my 2 favorite things. One, I want to hear your favorite Valentine's Day ever. I feel like ours are going to differ. And then 2, what are you most excited about with the Super Bowl, and why is it buffalo chicken dip?
Big buffalo chicken dip guy, of course. I think we're going in a little bit of a different direction this year. Yeah. I'm making something Hawaiian roll based. Still figuring out what that's going to be. It might be buffalo chicken sliders, might be a little barbecue chicken sliders. We might be going into the actual sliders route with like ground beef and burgers and stuff like that. We'll figure it out. We're going to have something planned for
as long as Hawaiian rolls are involved. Connor's happy.
Yeah, I'm still working on that endorsement deal. Not happening quite yet. I'm just trying to guilt them into it. Eventually we'll get there. But we'll probably do something like that for Super Bowl Sunday. And then Valentine's Day, I don't have like one specific best Valentine's Day ever. I also don't have thankfully I don't have a Ryan Howard Valentine's Day experience in which, like, oh, hey, you hooked up with this girl on February 13th. And then you're just sitting there like that with your hair. No, so nothing like that. Well, Lauren and we'll get each other like, we'll probably get some sort of Valentine's themed dessert. We'll call it a day.
I've said this forever. I've said this even when I was with somebody, when I wasn't with somebody. My favorite Valentine's Day of all time. Okay. I remember I was like 15 years old. My parents came home and they're like, listen, we're going to go out for Valentine's Day. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, we don't have to hang out. Cool. I get the TV. Awesome. And they gave me a pizza, a 2-liter Dr. Pepper, and Joe Dirt on VHS. Cause this is how old I am. And I was like, dude, it was awesome. I got myself a Pizzone as well, because they gave me $20. I was like, I'm gonna go all out. So I had myself a little feast, a little pizza feast, thanks to Pizza Hut, and then watch Joe Dirt, which is still to this day a very underrated movie. So, that was my favorite one of all time.
I haven't watched Joe Dirt in about 10 years, but I'm curious how that one's aged. I remember some plot holes. I remember some definite plot holes.
Oh, there's a lot of plot holes. There's a lot of plot holes. I watched it the other day. It was on TNT of all things, which is kind of bizarre. Because it seemed like, I don't know what it is about Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore and all these Adam Sandler movies getting play on, like, I don't know if he's like seen the entire cable industry naked or something, and he has like some sort of dirt on them, but the amount of play his movies are getting is wild. It's wild. I mean, he might be in contact with the Auburn Boosters, and that might be what's going on.
I was going to say, who would be the Joe Dirt of hires to replace Bryan Harsin?
Kevin Steele.
Probably Kevin Steele.
Only because I'm just so tired of it. I'm just so tired of it. Kevin Steele is more of the grown-ups hire of Auburn football, because like I'm so sick and tired of seeing grown-ups on TV on every single channel. And Kevin Steele has been in this league for, it seems like, I don't know, 4 decades, but anyway.
Grown-ups is when you think you can just put 6 funny people in a room, and funny people, I say that loosely, David Spade and Rob Schneider being included in that group.
You.
I don't know about that, but right. I would say that that was a perfect scenario in which you can stick 6 funny people in a room and hope to just kind of figure things out. It never really lines up.
We're going to get magic. No, you're not either.
No, yeah. That movie should have been so much better. And I remember getting really excited for the preview, and it just was really bad.
And they made a second one too. Oh, anyway. All right. We will talk more plot holes in Adam Sandler movies next time. Connor, I appreciate you joining me, man. This was good as always. And happy early Valentine's Day. Happy Super Bowl Sunday.
I can't believe you just wished me happy Valentine's Day.
I was weird.
Day,
yeah. I
didn't. We'll just run right past that. Subscribe, by the way.
Yeah. Subscribe. Jesus.